Do you know that you are self-realized already? I woke up the other morning with like an intense um, message to share. And so it was like an energy that was just like coming in. And then I got an image of this painting that I'm going to start working on because I do acrylic paintings. And so I do channeled paintings. So I'm going to be working on that as well. But what I wanted to kind of share with you is like you are already realized, right? And so I'll go over the channeling with you here after I got sat down to actually tune into it and do some automatic writing on it. But the message is that I woke up with to share and to put out here. And again, everything that I'm channeling and putting out is going to be in the books that I'm putting on Amazon. So you can always go and get those and read the books, if you're missing out on any of the videos or anything like that. And so these are all like clips of channeled writings that I'm receiving in downloads as I'm sleeping. And a lot of times what I'll do is when I'm tossing and turning throughout the night, it's like when I awake, I catch little clips that are coming in, and I try to write them down as I'm doing it. But of course, at like 1, 2, 3 in the morning, that's not feasible because I have to get up and do stuff during the day. So I catch the clips as they're coming in. I'm aware of the downloads and information that I'm connecting to while I'm sleeping for the next day, and what I wake up with in the morning to talk about. So I'm gathering all these clips and putting them in books as well. So not just on here, but they'll be on Amazon when they get published. I already have 2 of them out there. I have this main one that I'm working on, and then there's the one book that talks about the karmic overlay. There it gives you steps in doing that. It's like affirmations, as well as just little clips on there, little paragraphs that talks about it. So you do have that as well. All right, and so I can share those links in the below area for you if you're interested in doing the books. But I'm gonna go ahead and read what I channeled from that. Do you know you are self-realized already, right? And so Source realized you in its own eyes, which is its image, right? And so just the fact that you are here, you are realized because Source created you, and that's being realized, right? And so understanding that is amazing, right? Because your life means something, right? Because it wouldn't create itself. And the image that I was getting when that came in was it's like a replica. You're like a replica of it, because as it realized itself, it wanted to recreate its realization, right? And so to experience it, which is the replication of itself. And so you are, right? If that makes sense. And so you're the intelligence, right? So because Source is intelligence. When I first connected to Source, like I didn't see a God with some white beard or Jesus, you know what I mean? I saw nothing. What I felt was intelligence. And so that's what Source gave me as a way to relate to what Source is for me. It's an intelligence, right? It's not a being, an emotion, a feeling, a form. But when I look at people, like I say to myself, I'm like, look at all the ways that Source is showing up in different forms, different hair, different sizes, different shapes, different colors, different eyes, different genders, and everything is Source, right? It's the way it's showing up in its appearance, right? And so it's a part of who you are, intelligence. And so beyond your physical form, you have so much more going on than what you think it is, right? And so you are realized in the eyes of Source, which is the creation of it. So you've been created, meaning that you've been thought of. And so because you've been thought of, it's manifested in its own way, its own being, its own creation of it. in different ways, right? And so you're all having different perceptions and concepts of it. Source realized you in its eyes, which is the creation of itself in its own image, which is the realization of itself, which is intelligence. And so in creation of itself, which is unlimited, the unlimited view of being, which is the potential that you are, so you can be who you are in the way that you are meant to be. And so to replicate its own being, which is love, the being for the doing then comes after. And so all you have to do is to be, to realize that you are, and so shall you be in realization. For self-realization is not a religion, it is its own being in its own eyes, and in order to make it true in its being, which most isn't, because they don't understand or know themselves. And so you don't know itself, which is to pray to false God of others and themselves in separation, which is limited, the limited view of who you are, which is human. And so embody love to be of it, which is the most powerful thing that you can be of all things, that which come to you in the highest possible way, the potential. For it is the only thing that you have to do that has been set upon you, which is to be love, to rise above itself in normalcy, the common ear. And for when you rise above the rest, you become one with Source, not others, but your awareness of being that isn't all else comes from life, the abundance, the happiness, the joy, the feeling good about yourself and others, to rejoice in the way out of suffering, which most people don't understand what it is to be life and how it has been given to you, which is the keys to its own kingdom, which is this piece of equipment that you live in, but don't understand it and don't know it, how it exists or how it operates, basically. And it isn't for what you are seeing, but what you are driving. It's a very simplistic but complex piece of equipment that you have taken up that most don't know about what to do or even how to drive it, but most think they do, which they don't. Simply because you don't understand life itself and you have to be it, and which is to know it, which isn't life worth wasting. For that which knows not itself in source, the alignments. And when you don't know yourself, you are limited. Simply because you can understand life, you have to be it, which isn't a life worth wasting. And so you've been given the keys to heaven and you're making hell out of it, simply because people don't want to take responsibility for their lives and understanding it, how it actually is working and evolving. And so they want to make it about others or blame God, or the way the universe is set up is against me, or something else is against me, I'm under a curse. It's none of that. It is you, yourself, and it's time to realize it. There's no one else who has reign over you unless you give it to them. It is your power. You are empowered by Source, the true one, not enslaved by it. You are self-realized, which is who you are to yourself, not an imagined self. You are self-realized guru. Haven't you figured that out yet? You are a self-realized guru who knows what to do with life if you would just do it. And just living makes you realize, because Source realized you within itself. It's created you, it's thought of you, and so it's created. It's like manifesting, creating something, you imagine it, and then it becomes, right? And so it's the existence of itself, recreating itself through itself to be itself in imagination, allowing itself to evolve through time and channeling and being its existence, right? And so it's through you that it works, that you're being in time. And so just living makes you realize you don't have to do anything but realize it. And so you are life, meaning it is true to itself, being, meaning you are alive, not dead. You're the appearance of it, but you're also the existence of it, which is the reality of Source, not just your human self. So you are alive, not dead, which is the meaning of it. And so it is the different levels of being self-realized that you are. And when you are realized it, you become it, which is realized yourself. So it's kind of like the scenario, which reminded me of, Pinocchio. When the Geppetto created this wooden example, this existence, but then it became alive, right? And so that is the same is what this is kind of saying. It's something to relate to. And so it is the wish come true, that which knows it and that which it doesn't, which is the conscious and the unconsciousness of its own being realized by source. The one who created you, source your relation. You are realized by source, only you don't know it, but source does. In evolution, it's consciousness, for it is creating you. If you were not realized, then you would not be you in existence. And so you have been given some of the most potential powerful stuff in evolution that has ever existed, the power to be. So the power and the control over your own life, which are the keys to your castle, your being, your world, which is a world upon world. And the I Am discourse talks about that. But because you don't know it, who you truly are, or understand it fully, you create outside of your parameters, as it is written by source. The descendant God, you have been given the will, the deed of source, to create yourself, which is the layers of its own being, which you don't know what to do with. Too much power. And so it goes to say that it is wasted to those who throw it away and don't understand it. It is wasted on yourself and the world. There is so much more than what we can be doing, evolving, and as a witness and subject to our own disgrace, which is not a bad thing. Dis is mean separation from grace. Being a witness to our own self-suffering, not a realized master. So we have a commoner's life, meaning instead of our true divine connection. And so as a self-realized master, we need to take a look at this, at what we are creating out of it, which is to take an opportunity to take responsibility. Because when you're given the keys to something, you want to take responsibility for it, right? And so to not make a mess out of it by blaming others instead of taking responsibility for ourselves, which is to turn in and to always look at ourselves first. What am I creating in the world? How am I living? How am I showing up? What is my example to the world so others can be of it? So that is for each and every one, not just one person. We all have this ability. We all have this potential. We all have this key to the castle, to heaven, creating here on earth, right? Which is self-mastery of a real self-realized master. When we don't, it makes us false victims, which Source didn't create. Source didn't create, and that goes into a different video. Source didn't create victims. We created it by not being our true selves, right? And it's what are we believe in when we're separate. And so we created, which is just suffering ourselves by not being our true selves and by not knowing ourselves, failing to lift the veil. And it's not anyone's fault that you forgot who you are, but it is not until we all lift a finger and wake up from the dream state, which is the illusion, which is why we call it self-realized, not just by being alive, but realizing ourselves as a master, that we are source potential, being in human form. And so you are already it, realized by source, which is the creation of you. You are, which is the light of the one being shining through, which most of you don't realize, and is the second coming of source, not Jesus, through you, if you will it, which is within us, not outside of us, to be it, to walk the earth, heaven, here and now, in the moment. And so it's not until we all wake up that heaven comes from the dream state into this reality that we are not any different, which is oneness. And for it is when we think that we can't do anything about it that it continues, but when we can realize that we are it, then we can change it, which is the world in existence from the inside out, which is not just a statement, but a true existence. But most of you don't do, but talk about it as a message given to others in their way of being, to make it a better place, but not taking responsibility for ourselves in place of our own selves, but others. And so it never is. How is that working out? So there are messages that you are all receiving at this time in evolution is not just for others, but for ourselves. So take the advice within, not just sharing without. For all those who walk the earth are responsible, just as we are all one in harmony of itself, which is source. And so as long as we are all in the space of the false victimhood, which is the illusion to believe that I am without, or even would be, which is the beliefs that have been set before us, the extremities, the extremities not as in your arms and hands, things like, but the extreme ITs is broken up in this word, how it's showing here, extremities. Them, there's nothing wrong, meaning there is nothing I can do to, so I succumb to it and it continues. So instead of taking responsibility, we just allow it and we could succumb to it and we just continue it and we perpetuate it. So I didn't do it, they did it, instead of taking control over our lives. When we give power to them, then we are victims. And so they did this, then we are false victims of our own creation, which is this lifetime, and what we choose to do with it. Life isn't victimhood. It wasn't chosen by source nor created. It is what we choose to do with it. It's the system that you're a false victim to, the illusion, and how you are being in it, the realization of yourself, which is your true self, not your false self. And so that you don't know about yourself, what you don't know about that has been created for us as a safeguard, the backup plan. So when you're not in your divine connection, you're utilizing the backup plan, that which was of the past, that's present in the moment, instead of being in the present moment to be of the future, changing, right? And so that if we are not in control of our lives, we are failing and falling short of our own lives, which is life. And we are false victims. And so we live in catastrophe over catastrophe that brings us back to ourselves through suffering. Question, who am I? Why am I here? What am I doing? Which signifies it means that you are on the wrong path. But you're on the wrong path for the right reasons. So you can come back to yourself. So you're never really on the wrong path, because there's no right and wrong. There's only it feels good or it doesn't feel good. Is this because right and wrong is judgment, right? And so, but it's a signal that's, because there's no other way to explain it when we're talking about in conversation. When you're in the suffering, you're not really, it's wrong, but you're on the wrong path, right? And so it brings you back to the right path by questioning it, right? And so you're on the right path of being in the wrong path, if that makes sense. So for a self-realized being doesn't question, it knows. So if when you're in alignment, you know, you don't need to question. So you're on the right path. But even the wrong path is the right path. So to keep living in false victimhood with the mindset, nothing is wrong with me and doing wrong and not right, which right and wrong doesn't exist. It's not created by source, but by us, is giving the power over to that which you point your fingers at, even if it doesn't exist. So it's imagined, the illusion. And so it might not seem right in your eyes, but when there's nothing wrong with me, it's them, then there is no correction. So we can't correct anything because we're giving our power away. And so we're not taking a look at what we're here, what we're doing, what we're creating, what we're saying, how we're feeling, what we're putting out in the world. Because a lot of things aren't about what we say. A lot of times it's about what we're feeling, what we're projecting, right? Or what we're judging or what we're not understanding. And so there's no correction, because when no one wants to look at it, then we can't fix it, right? And so then no one would be fixing anything in that case if nobody's look at themselves. And so everybody has a part and role in it, a piece of the play. And so we all have put something in that we've created that we don't want. And so we experience it, right? And so it's not always about the other person. And so it is time for everyone to look within, not without side of themselves. How can I fix this one, not them? Because when we fix ourselves, all things become better, right? We've all fixed everything, right? And then that was the place that we stand from. So when you are right with yourself, nothing else is wrong. You don't have to worry about that, right? Because you are divinely connected. right? And the more you separate, and that came in this morning, the more that you are separating yourself, the more that you're putting things in way of source, your divine connection, the more further away from source you become, right? So for instance, we give doctors the power over us to heal, or the power over source. We put the doctors in between, you know, source, divine connection of healing, the power of healing, right? And so we can heal just by being in meditation and oneness with source, right? And so we put doctors in that space as our God, right? Our source. Just an example. And we do that with a lot of things. And the more we put there, the more separate we become from source, right? Which is why the mind was created, not to point fingers, to think, but not to be. So the mind is to think, to contemplate, to not be, right? So we're not our minds, basically, right? And so not pointing fingers, it is an apparatus of the body, which is a tool to use, not who we are, that we are consumed by, but by most think that they are the minds. And so they don't know the difference between them and their mind, themselves, which is what they think. And so they follow along with it, running amok in their lives, living in tune to the backup plan, which is going on, the recircumventing of past actions, past thoughts, past behaviors, past emotions, past traumas, that replaying it out in the present moment, the current time, because they haven't done anything with it to heal it, to let it go, to transform it, to forgive, right? And so it's the backup plan on the timeline, not the present moment in divine connection. So you're not your mind, you're not your body, you're not your emotions. These are all devices that have been given to you within this framework for you to navigate this life in this world among worlds, which is your world and others' worlds together as a whole in the universe, which is source world, right? Which is not troubled waters, but the laying of existence. What you do with it is your own experience, because it's your right, it's your free will, whatever you want to do in your own world, but it's your world, it's nobody else's, right? And so, but we affect others as we're doing it, right? And so everybody has a part and role in it. So for not everyone has the same experience, and so use them wisely. They are devices separate from you, not who you are. Take time to determine the difference between them. You, the mind, the body, the emotions, and quickly you will gather the evidence and discover your true self, that you aren't any of them, which is called freedom, not to be free from itself, because you can never be free from your true self, which is source, the direct connection to it. So you are the direct descendant of source, the line to the throne, not separate. But when we can't determine the difference between us, the mind, the body, and the emotions, as we're taking it on, we're separating ourselves, right? And so we suffer the consequences. And when we can fully determine what is ours and what is not, all is one. And so until we do that, we can't correct what is not wrong, because we see it as nothing's wrong with me, only them. But it's not taking responsibility for who we are. And so only if we take a look at it that we can determine it, because we cannot correct what is not wrong, that we're not seeing only what you know to be, which is the appearance, the outcome, not what I created. Because a lot of times we just see the appearance of the creation of it. We don't see how it got there, right? Which is a chain of events and evolution that we've created up until this point. And a lot of times we just forget what we've done or thought or believed in or felt that led to the outcome of it, which is the creation of it. And so the outcome, not what it is not right, which is not others but ourselves. And so if everyone worked on themselves, then there would be no wrong or right to distinguish from, because it wouldn't exist. Not only because it doesn't exist by source, but because you are all taking action to resolve the old age question that we suffer from, which is our own intelligence. Get what we're saying. And so if you don't take a look at what is wrong with you and not the other, then it can never be true self-realization. For what is self-realization is not taking you higher, but seeing it through the illusion, which is why we turn in. And so you can't be who you truly are if you're not seeing it in the way. So in every way that is you, for you, created by source, not them, for as you were created for, which is what Source gave to you to be. For when we look at others, not ourselves, for more than ourselves we suffer, right? And so it's to be ourselves, not them, and to blame them, and to make ourselves in a way that we are in alignment with Source, right? And so that is how that is not from projecting, right? From who we truly are, right? And so why do you look to others to tell you you're not a sinner, you're not a beggar, a liar? And so question yourself, not them. Blame yourself, not them, for there is no one else to blame, for all is of its own creation. For what you create in your world, you experience, and so it'll be. All is one, in spite of itself, to be that which is, that is playing out the roles for us in a way to bring us higher, which is back to ourselves to see of our own creation, which is the truth, right? And so what you're seeing outside in your world that your experience is the truth of what is the outcome of what you've created, right? Whether it's this lifetime, past lifetime, what you've agreed to work out with another person, or whatever it is, reincarnation, right? Because there's no karma, but there's a reincarnation where you come back and you experience what you chose to work out, right? So you can never re-experience something that you've experienced before or created for somebody else. It's one and done. So our own self, the truth and being, so there is no one else to blame or to act out against to that which was created for all Source, for it is all that was designed perfectly in the way that it is meant to be. Thereby it is that which is the inner gateway to be found for that which is lost of itself, that doesn't remember itself, that which doesn't know itself, but is as we are the generation of Source. And so we have a responsibility to take trust in ourselves, that we know who we are, not others, for that which we can't find in ourselves is Source, not that which is missing, for there is nothing missing in of itself being, only that which it is that we're often mistaken for itself in being one too, that isn't, which is when we can't see it through the eyes of Source, only the knowing. So only what others do to us, which is the commonary, the record that's playing, the belief system, which is the outcome of action, which is false victimhood, not separation, but and not self-realization. And so it is only when we can see it, that we know it, that can we be anything done about it, which is change, right? Because you can't change anything that you don't know about. And so if you don't know about it, then there's nothing you can do. And so you're playing the victimhood, which actually doesn't really exist. It's just the fact that you're not seeing it, which you're projecting, you're looking outside of yourself, you're not turning in to see it, right? What have I done in my life, or what I haven't done in my life that is creating this issue, right? And so it's changing the way that we are living, for knowing it is being, it is that which is realized, not that which isn't, for it is that which is being itself to that which isn't, which is the point in being, which is being the change, not ruminating of it in the past, in the present moment. And so when we can see it, we know it by going within. For if we are going to be always blaming others, then no one then takes responsibility for our own way of being, which is actions, our behaviors, our creations of the world at large and in our very lives. And so it's going on so long, it has become a part of our lives as a false victim of life, when in fact we've been given life to live and to know ourselves by the being masters over it, which is to change ourselves, right? And to change our perceptions, change our reality, change our belief systems, not to continue it, right? And to make it more in alignment with Source love, higher consciousness, right? And so you no longer, this is funny, you're no longer in a crib, so rise up and be fantastic. Source didn't create false victims, and it certainly didn't create rule over you. You gave it that. And so, which is why you have chosen free will to live your lives as you choose it, to create and to be who you truly are, not to be free from Source, but disconnected from Source, because you never are. You're only temporary in this form, which is the taking up of the body. So you're not the body, which is in of its existence that only rules, that applies to you, to rule yourself and not them, and which is a great surprise. It also means to be your own witness of the experience and whatever that comes with it. So whether that's suffering or bliss, right? Abundance. And so to not be enslaved by yourself, which is you, who you are in the making of yourself by not taking responsibility for your lives. And so for you've been given the greatest gift of life, freedom, and the right to choose, the right to live, the right to die, the right to create, and the right to deem your own punishments. Because with free will comes all of the things. And you don't understand and realize that when you took free will, which is really the right to choose, you also have taken everything. Source isn't going to stand there and tell you yes, no. Nobody's going to do that. Nobody's going to punish you. No, because when you go do your life review, you're the one reviewing your life and you're making your own determination from that, which will ultimately determine whether you're going to come back in another form and work that out or replay that or make that or change that or manipulate this or change this, right? We're in creation of our lives, right? We have our hands in the clay, so to say, right? And so with that, we've been given everything, and it's what we do with it that either makes it our heaven or hell. And so you have the right to be who you are. That is the outcome of free will, for no one is doing anything to you. It is all you and your own creation. And so what are you doing in the moment that you're creating? Are you thinking positively? Are you thinking negatively? Are you being angry? Are you being hurtful? Are you being intentful? Are you kicking a dog? Are you doing something else? You know what I mean? What are you doing in your existence, right? Are you in alignment with source? Are you intentionally aligning with source and being a light in the world, or are you bringing in the darkness, right? And so the shadow effect, right? And so the shadow effect is just the one who plays out the role who doesn't want to be the light, right? And so we'll just say it that way, it's the shadow, right? They do there are people who are out there that actually chose to take on the roles that they're going to have, and it's agreement between people, you know, the roles in the play for the experience, right? And that's why we have the other stream of conscious, you know, not always the light, because like you can't have an experience if everybody's going to be love. It doesn't work that way. And so not everybody can be love, but it's our goal, right? And so in order to reach that goal, you know, we have all these things that we experience and exist and we create, right? And so what is it that you're doing? It's about us, each individual. It's not about what other people are doing. And it's about minding our own being, right? How are we showing up in the world, right? And so being love is our highest potential, which is alignment with source, right? And so source gave you the wheel, and along with it comes responsibility. And so it is no one's fault, it is no one's responsibility but you to manage your own life in a way that is uplifting for you and for others, right? It's not for you to be yourself for others, but when you can be your true self in higher consciousness connection with source, you're then shining a light for others, right? And so if you're in negativity, you're also shining a light for others, right? Because where they are is where you're going to be, and what you're attracting to you, right? It's what's within, and where you are is where you are in your relation, or you're related, right? Your related is your outside, and then your relation is your divine connection. And so be responsible with your lives. A lot of responsibility comes with the keys, with what you've been given. For if you don't understand it, you won't be punished, but you won't be able to use it the best way possible. Self-realized. And so a lot of responsibility comes with it. For if you don't understand it, you won't be punished by source, because there's no punishments, there's no judgment. These are all things that we do, right? It's all be given to us. We've been given the ability to judge. We've been given the ability to punish ourselves and others. We've been given the ability, because that's where our emotions come, our anger, our intent. We've been given all this power, and it's what we do with it. And through choice, what are we doing, either consciously or conscious, right? Is your intentional or unintentional consciousness. So it's our responsibility to make the best of ourselves out of what we have here, which is the tools, and it's just learning how to navigate this world and how to use them and how we're showing up in the things that we're creating and how we're being to ourselves and to others, right? Because we can be very negative and down, not just on ourselves, but others, and judgmental and punishing. And so these are all things that we've been given, but we don't look at it that way. Source is like, here's your life. I'm out, you know what I mean? But it's still there. It didn't leave you. It's here's all the things that you need. Here's the clay, here's the water, here's your spinning wheel, here's all your tools. This is what you need, and here you go. And so you navigate your way through the world. And basically that's what it is. That's what they're showing me, and to share with you as that example. And so the only ones that do any judging is ourselves. Like when we go to do our past lives, like I said, we're the only ones that are doing that, right? We're deeming that, we're changing that, we're manipulating it. And so when we go back, and a lot of people have done many lifetimes working on this, you know, and so they take up different roles just on like one scenario to work that out, you know, and to change and manipulate it, right? And so there's a lot that goes on beyond our like little human experience where we go to work and we have have a family, we get married, you know, there's so much more beyond this than what we think it really is, right? And so you've been been given the keys to everything. And so with it comes responsibility and everything else, right? And so there's no judgment against you, there's no punishments. None of that is by source. It's all by you. Because when you're given that, the ability to be who you are, you've been given everything else along with it. So it's again, it's just been, you know, everything. It's just understanding that, and that's what that was. And it's like that was the message that came yesterday, and it was like, you need to get this out, you know, and just to share this with people, because a lot of people think, you know, the world is against us, you know, there's curses on me, you know, and then there's, you know, punishment, and there's evil, and then, you know, sources, uh, mean, and all this other stuff that, you know, we come up with, you know, because things don't go our way, or we don't realize that we're creating something, or something's against us because we don't understand how it all works, right? And so when we do understand how it all works, then we can navigate the world so much better. But we have to do that by turning in, not outside from other people, because if they don't know, then how are they going to know, right? How are they going to be able to help you, right? And so we're all doing the best that we can to navigate this world, you know, through the different things in the way of being. But it's taking responsibility for yourself, and that's just to turn in, you know, sit in meditation, start connecting, start healing, start making amends, start seeing where it is that I can improve myself. Where is it that I need to work on or heal? You know, a lot of things like that. And that's basically what it is, because there's nothing outside of you that's beyond you that's creating. It's all you. You've been given everything, right? And so that is to be self-realized. And so when you can see that you are in creation of itself, and that's what source is. Source is the creation of itself, and so you've been realized by source in its own creation, which is why you're here, right? Because you've been realized. And so because you already realized, then you can be it, right? Because you can't be realized if source didn't realize you, if that makes sense. Because everything already is being, it's just you realizing it and recognizing it and aligning with it. And so which is manifesting, and so you have to learn how to navigate this world and be in that way, not just a part and role in it, but divine connection, bringing that from heaven to earth. All right. Happy journeys, happy creating.